All right, let's open the case file on what might be the biggest mystery of all time. We're talking about a case with, get this, 100 billion potential witnesses, and yet the only sound we ever seem to hear is silence. So today, we're going to dig into the clues, the theories, and yeah, the chilling possibilities behind that great cosmic silence. You know, it really all boils down to this one question, doesn't it? Are we alone? It's a question we've been asking ourselves forever, pushing us to build bigger and better telescopes to send probes out into the void. Because let's be honest, the answer, whatever it is, changes absolutely everything about who we are and our place in the cosmos. And here's where that simple question starts to get really weird. Because in our galaxy alone, just the Milky Way, there are over 100 billion with a B, potentially habitable Earth-like planets. Now that's not just some abstract number. That is 100 billion chances for life to get started, 100 billion potential neighbors. Now, with all those chances, all those rolls of the cosmic dice, you'd expect a pretty crowded, noisy universe, right? But when we point our best instruments to the sky and we listen, we get nothing. Crickets. And that's the heart of the mystery right there. The first and maybe most important piece of evidence in our case file, this deep, unnerving cosmic silence. And look, this isn't just some late-night philosophical daydream. This profound silence is a real, honest-to-goodness scientific puzzle. It's a paradox that has tied some of the greatest minds in physics and astronomy into absolute knots for decades. So this mystery has a name, the Fermi paradox. It's named after the brilliant physicist Enrico Fermi, who, during a casual lunch back in the 1950s, was talking about this and just famously blurted out a really simple question about all these potential aliens. Where is everybody? And you know what? We still don't have a good answer. The logic that gets you to the paradox is just devastatingly simple. I mean, think about it. You start with billions of stars. You figure a fraction of those have Earth-like planets, then assume a tiny fraction of those develop life, and an even tinier fraction develops technology. Even if you use the most conservative numbers you can think of, the math still says our galaxy should be teeming with civilizations. Somebody should have visited or at least sent a postcard by now. And it's that simple, powerful chain of logic that makes the silence so incredibly deafening. So, like any good detective, the first thing we gotta do is look at the evidence. Or, in this case, the evidence we're trying to find. What does the actual scientific hunt for extraterrestrial life look like on the ground? Basically, the hunt goes down two main paths. The first is what you might call cosmic eavesdropping. That's what projects like SETI do. They're listening for signs of technology, radio waves or maybe laser pulses. But now, thanks to new tech, we can also just look for the fundamental signs of life itself. We call them biosignatures, and we hunt for them in the light that comes from distant planets. So here on Earth, our plant life, all of it, absorbs red light but reflects near-infrared light like crazy. This creates a really sharp, detectable cliff in the light spectrum that scientists call the red edge. Now think about this. If we could find that same specific signature on a distant exoplanet, man, that would be a monumental clue that something is growing over there. It'd be a total game changer. Okay, so we're listening for signals from deep space, and we're hearing nothing. But what if the evidence isn't billions of light years away? So now our investigation takes a turn from the cosmic to the, let's be honest, kind of controversial, as we look at strange stuff happening right here in our own skies. For decades, for a very long time, this topic was just dismissed or even ridiculed. But that is changing, and it's changing fast. The whole conversation around what we now call UAPs, or unidentified anomalous phenomena, is moving from the fringes right into the mainstream. It's being taken seriously by governments, by the military, and yep, even by academic institutions. And this isn't just talk. We're seeing official government hearings and declassified reports. We're seeing major universities building these really sophisticated camera networks, like the one in Würzburg, to just scan the skies 24/7. The goal isn't to debunk or dismiss anymore. It's just to collect hard data. Because think about it. If these phenomena are real and they're not from here, it doesn't solve the paradox. It just makes it way, way deeper. Why the big silence if they're already here? But this idea of non-human intelligence interacting with us, it's not new, not by a long shot. So our investigation now has to look back in time, at clues that you won't find in radio signals or sensor data. You find them encoded in our oldest stories, our myths, and our most sacred texts. And when you look at potential contact through a theological or spiritual lens, you basically get two big competing ideas. On one hand, you have the ETI myth, which is this kind of modern hope that super advanced aliens will show up and save us from ourselves. But then you have this other, much darker view, a real concern that these things aren't visitors from other planets at all, but something else entirely. Deceptive entities of a spiritual and maybe not so friendly nature. I mean, this kind of thinking leads you straight to ancient texts that talk about beings like the Nephilim, these strange hybrids between otherworldly sons of God and human women. Now, whatever you believe they actually were, stories like this show us that the idea of contact, of some kind of intervention from up there, isn't a modern sci-fi invention. It's actually woven right into the fabric of human history. So we've looked for aliens out in the stores, and we've looked for them in our ancient past, but what if we've been looking in the completely wrong place this whole time? We're now going to turn to what might be the most chilling clue in our entire case file, a purely statistical argument that suggests the Great Silence isn't a mystery about them at all, but a terrifying warning about us. This quote right here gets to the heart of this really bizarre statistical puzzle called the Doomsday Argument. Put simply, it suggests that if humanity is going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, you are statistically most likely to be born during the time when the most people are around. It's a simple idea that totally reframes how you think about where we are in history. Let's put some numbers to that. It's estimated that roughly 1/5, 20%, of all human beings who have ever lived are alive right now. Think about that. Statistically speaking, if you were to be born at a completely random moment in all of human history, it's just far, far more likely you'd be born into a period with a huge population like ours than at the very, very beginning of a long, sprawling future with trillions of people yet to come. So what if our massive global population isn't a sign of our enduring success, but a statistical warning sign that we might be living in humanity's final act? That's the Doomsday Argument. It's a sobering, purely mathematical reason for why the cosmos might be so quiet. Maybe other civilizations reached this very same point, and they just never made it past. And maybe the reason they didn't make it is something called a great filter, some kind of existential challenge that intelligent civilizations inevitably face and then fail to overcome. For us, that filter could be any number of things we're worried about right now. Out of control AI, some kind of global catastrophe, or maybe just our own well-documented inability to get our act together and solve big problems. Okay, let's pull all these threads together. The deafening silence from the stars, our search for signals, the strange phenomena in our own skies, and this creepy doomsday math. Where does it all lead? What conclusion is our cosmic detective story pointing towards? And this quote from the existential risk scholar Azizi Othman, it really brings it all home. After all this searching for external threats or hoping for some kind of external savior, the evidence might be pointing right back at us. The greatest filter, the biggest danger, might not be out there at all. It might be right here, inside our own heads. And that, in the end, is the ultimate verdict of our investigation. The Fermi paradox forces us to hold up a mirror. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence has somehow become this profound and frankly deeply unsettling examination of our own intelligence, our own future, and our own chances of survival. Which leaves us with one last big question. Is the Great Silence a cosmic puzzle that we're supposed to solve? Or is it the sound of the classroom just before a final exam begins? A test that every other civilization before us has apparently failed. The answer could define everything that comes next.